You're watching TVC News. Of course, we're still talking about World Menstrual Hygiene Day. And we have joining us via Zoom is the Chief of WASH UNICEF Nigeria, Jane Bevan. She's joining me on the news to discuss this. Thank you very much, Jane, for joining us at this point. So I've read a lot I've read some things before we came on to you about World Menstrual Hygiene Day. But in your own words, right? Tell us now, why is the world celebrating World Menstrual Hygiene Day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important to put it in perspective. I'm not sure celebrating is the right word, but certainly bringing it to the attention of people, particularly decision makers, lawmakers, that this is a big issue, and it's a big issue in Nigeria. There are high levels of poverty. Many people cannot afford to purchase appropriate menstrual hygiene products. And so all sorts of poor practices ensue, which result in infections, illnesses, and worse. So it's a very important issue to make menstrual products affordable for all women and girls so that they can enjoy life to the full.
In making menstrual products available to all women and girls, we see that a lot of women, not just in the rural areas, but even in urban areas, find it difficult to get pads and all of that for their menstruation, when it's a situation where it's a natural occurrence that the body has to emit some fluids and all of that so that it cleanses itself. But at this point now, have governments been able to help out in ensuring that women and girls can afford these pads and what all they need for their menstrual hygiene?
Well, the government has, some time ago, in the 90s, I believe, removed tax. So in principle, menstrual products are tax exempt, but I think we need to do some research on exactly what impact that has had, because I understand that products are still very expensive. And there's also standards for pads, but I'm not convinced that they're being rigorously enforced. And we do get a lot of qualitative, obviously, feedback that pads are often not very good quality, those being sold. I think the result lies with local production. The real solution lies there, and helping people to make them locally, to be affordable, available, accessible for all girls. It particularly worries me that girls may be missing school because they don't have adequate protection or sufficient privacy at school in the form of toilets or other accessible places for them to go and wash and change. And as a result, they'll be missing out on their education and other life opportunities. So I think these are really important issues that we need to bring to the fore and make sure they're not forgotten. And that's one of the reasons why we have Menstrual Hygiene Day.
All right, there seems to be a mindset as regards menstrual hygiene. Like you mentioned earlier, menstrual hygiene products are actually tax exempt from the government. And we also see that they are expensive. Yeah, the quality, there have been complaints about some of them which are quite low in quality. But you also talked about the fact that they can be locally produced to ensure that it is cheaper for women and girls. But how do we address the mindset that comes with this, especially from, let me just use the word, from the male gender?
I think it's important that everybody is aware about menstruation, boys in school as well. Undergo puberty changes. Of course, they're slightly different and don't involve bleeding, lucky for them, but it is a perfectly normal fact of life. And I think girls need to know about the boys' puberty changes as well as the other way around, so that it's not something to mock, it's something to support and be there to support your sisters and brothers. So, yes, you're absolutely right. There's all sorts of crazy old wives' tales, if you like, taboos. They're all nonsense. It's a perfectly normal bodily function. girls should be able to do everything they can do if they have the right protection when they're not bleeding. So let's talk about it, make it a public thing, and we are really committed to doing that, and committed also to encouraging the promotion and the availability of menstrual products wherever they are.
So how can everyone help create awareness about menstrual hygiene?
Let's talk about it. Have you spoken to your daughters about it? Have you spoken to your sisters, to your mother, it starts with you. It starts with you and I. Let's all talk about it.
Well, in talking about it, there are people who are shy away from talking about these things. And where do we start from? How do we go about all of this? Even puberty. A lot of people shy away from telling their children about puberty. Where do we start from here?
I think it's important to make it accessible in educational materials. I understand that there are parts of the educational curriculum that cover puberty and menstrual hygiene, but perhaps it's not enough. Perhaps it's not enough information. Most people hear about it from girlfriends, teachers, rather than their education, which is where you should be learning about these issues, because then you hear all sorts of things that may not be completely true or factual. And it's important to be able to share the facts. And I know that there are a lot of booklets and stories out there that are distributed in schools, but maybe we need to increase the scale of that distribution to really help girls understand some of these stories. There is a lot of information out there, but it needs to be shared more widely. That is true.
Well, I think this is a laudable initiative, and it's something that everybody should get on the bandwagon and promote this, get the information out there for everyone to understand what menstrual hygiene is all about. Chief of WASH, UNICEF Nigeria, Jane Bevan, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.